Hello everyone, my name is Ralph. Welcome to Synology webinar today. Our topic today is data movement for millions of files. Joining us today is Eric Lin, who is a senior technical support engineer from Synology headquarters. There are three parts in our webinar today. First, we will tell you why the user want to move the data and what should be considered before to do so. Second, we will tell you what kind of package can help you to move the data. Different package has different features. Therefore, it's very important to understand the limitation and the feature on every package. Last but not least, we have some real case for you. By means of sharing this real case, you can not only understand how to choose the corresponding package for data movement based on your situation and the requirement. Also, you can learn how to move the data more practically. Now, let's welcome Eric.
Hello everyone, I'm Eric. Hope you are doing well. Since we have a lot of requests from our customers or partners about how to move data from one Synology NAS to another one, we think it's necessary to have this session to talk about this. And we believe this will be useful for you. Moving a few files or folder is easy, but if there are more than millions of files, what would you gonna do? In today's webinar, we will show you how to move millions of files in the proper way. And just to be clear, this topic is about movement of millions of files. If you ever experienced this, please stay with us. Ralph, are you ready?
Yes, let's get started.
You know, Ralph, first of all, everything starts from a little story. Today, we also have our story. Imagine that now you have a NAS on production, which contains 5 million files and a sort of package running on it. Think about this. In what situation would you need to move the data?
As far as I'm concerned, if I want to move the data, it means I want to make a duplicate to another NAS. Furthermore, if I purchase a new NAS, I want to move the data and the system from the old one to the new one.
Okay, duplicating files and upgrading NAS. So I could say in these two situations, we will need to move data. The first one, make a copy to other servers, just like backup. For example, if you are going to change file system from ext4 to BTRFS, which requires to remove module. Second, upgrade hardware, like replacing NAS to a high performance, or changing disk to more capacity.
Eric, so I was wondering about one thing. So besides the data, what else can I move?
As you say, data is important. Data is very important. Data size, number of files, and ACL permissions. Second, system configuration, like users and password, groups, domain LDAP setting, and notifications. And last one, application and database. For example, if you have a Synology Direct server, then you will have domain database inside. Well, Ralph, do you know there is very important things which should be done in the beginning, no matter in which situations?
Backup?
Excellent. Must ensure there is a backup before doing anything. You will never ever know what things gonna happen, so making a backup is the best choice and the best idea. Okay. Now there are plenty of information I just mentioned. Ralph, do you still remember?
Of course. So right now, please allow me to highlight a key point, which Eric just mentioned earlier. So what should be considered before data movement? First, of course, data. The data we are talking here is not only the data in share folder, also the data in iSCSI LAN. We have to consider about the size of data, the number of the file and the share folder, also the permission. Second, do you want to also move the system configuration, which include the username, password, group name, domain, and error depth. Third, do you want to move the package and its database? For example, Synology Directory Server or Synology Drive Server. However, Eric, I was wondering about one thing. So from the slide, I noticed the first letter of every objective is using in different color. So what does it mean?
In the rest of slides, D in orange could be referred to data. S in green could be referred to system configurations. P in blue could be referred to packages. Besides, the NAS where data come from, we will call source NAS. The NAS where data goes to, we will call target.
Oh, I see. That's very considerate. So data, system, configuration, and package.
Yes.
Okay, so I got another question. Can I move a license from one NAS to another?
Good point. Unfortunately, license cannot be moved or migrate automatically. It must be moved or migrate in your Synology account by yourself. Which means if you have such surveillance station, MailPlus server, or virtual machine manager with extra licenses, then you must move these licenses in your Synology account by yourself.
I see. So now we have everything prepared. I have one NAS on production, and I got another new NAS. I have more than 5 million of data on my own NAS. So Eric, please tell me, if I want to move the entire NAS from the old one to the new one, what can I do?
Sure. After understanding what things could be moved, next we are going to determine how to move those things. There are a few packages we are going to discuss. Each one depends on different scenario, but all includes ACL permissions. Moreover, these packages we are talking about are recommended by Synology for moving millions of files. As you mentioned, you want to move in the entire NAS from source to the target. Okay. The first one we could use for moving data is Migration Assistant. It's designed to migrate the entire NAS from one NAS to another Synology NAS, which usually has a better performance. The entire NAS means data, system configurations, and packages. All are covered. In addition, system configuration we are talking about here, not just basic settings. The sharing in file station or the backup task you created, for example, active backup for business. All this will be moved as well. Ralph, are you gonna move data?
Of course.
Are you gonna move packages?
Yes.
And system configurations?
Definitely. And by the way,
Okay.
I want to mention one thing. During the movement, I want my source NAS keep providing the service.
Okay, good. Then Migration Assistant could meet your requirement to move the entire NAS without any problem. Besides, while Migration Assistant pulling the data, it will keep moving the modified data from source NAS to the target NAS.
Oh, so that migration assistant sounds pretty powerful, and I guess it can use in lots of scenario. So that will be end of the webinar today. See you guys next time.
See you. Oh, come on, Ralph.
Not yet?
Nothing is perfect. Now models support Migration Assistant, and some models can be used as the target server. Okay, let me show you. This is our Synology knowledge base article. Here, you could know which Synology NAS models support Migration Assistant. Just click reference in the slide, or you could search keyword in our knowledge base, like this. On Synology website, mouse over to support. Click Get Technical Help. Here, you could search Migration Assistant support. Then you will get the same result. Click this one. Okay. As you could see on the screen, the section 2. If you have DS1817, then which supports Migration Assistant, you may not be able to use DS1817 to be the target for any one of these models. For example, DS1517 Plus. Is that clear?
Yes, it is.
Let's go back to the slide.
Alright. So besides the compatibility, so is there anything we should be checked before using Migration Assistant?
Yes. If source NAS is under HA cluster or MailPlus cluster, then it cannot use Migration Assistant to pull the data. By the way, SSD cache has to be removed on source NAS in advance. In other words, you have to unbind HA cluster, MailPlus cluster, remove SSD cache in advance before setting up Migration Assistant.
Hold on a second. Unbinding HA cluster? That sounds pretty risky. So if I don't want to take this risk, do I have other option?
Definitely. Migration Assistant is not the only option to moving millions of files. We could also use Hyper Backup as the second solution. Hyper Backup could also move the data, system configuration, and packages. Furthermore, you don't need to unbind HA cluster.
Now I'm confused. So if Hyper Backup can do the same job as Migration Assistant, so why should I use Migration Assistant?
You got me. Actually, there are some packages can be moved by Hyper Backup. For system configuration, it only includes basic settings. On the other hand, due to Hyper Backup has two steps, backup and restore, new created files or modified data won't be included during the procedure.
Oh, I see. So you mean the data which created or modified during the movement will not move to the new NAS. Is this correct?
Yes.
Alright. So I got another question for you. Let's say, if today I only want to move the data only, so what package can I use?
If the purpose is just making a data copy, then which means data only, then we could use Snapshot Replication to replicate the shared folders or escalate to the target NAS.
Oh, I know this one actually. So Snapshot Replication, it can move data pretty fast, right?
Yes, and any requirements you know?
Of course. Snapshot Replication will require the BTRFS file system. So if your volume is made by ext4 file system, you won't be able to use it.
Why?
Okay, because Snapshot Replication, it uses the feature from BTRFS file system. It will take a snapshot from original NAS, replicate to the target NAS, and it can recover all of the data instantly. Compared with the Hyper Backup you mentioned earlier, Snapshot Replication can back up and restore the data with less time.
Wow, I'm very impressive. You really know how it works.
However, please remember one thing again. Snapshot Replication can only move the data. It cannot move the system configuration and the package. Okay, so I got another question for you. Speaking of the moving data only, let's say if today I have less data, maybe for example 2000,
Yes.
and I want to move this 2000 of the file from one NAS to another again. Besides Snapshot Replication and Hyper Backup, what else? Do I have other option like package I can use?
Nice try. The above we're talking about here is just for millions of files. If you just want to move amount of data like 2000, then just use synchronized software like Drive Share Sync or Share Folder Sync to do so.
Okay, I see. So what's the difference between these two packages?
Both are for syncing share folders, but with a bit difference. For Drive Share Sync, it has multiple versions and you can configure either one way or two ways. In Share Folder Sync, it has single version and one-way sync, but with better performance compared with Drive Share Sync.
I see. In conclusion, if the number of the file I want to move is less than million, I can use synchronized package to move the data. However, I'm curious about one thing right now. What if today the number of my file is more than million and I still want to use this synchronized package? What will happen?
Good question. That actually happened in our real case we are going to share today. And so we will talk about this later, okay? Oh, one thing just come to in my mind. There is a recommended host file in Drive. Ralph, do you know where to find it?
You asked the right guy. So, right now, let's go back to our page. Okay, so if we want to know the recommended number of the host file on each NAS, we have to check the software spec. So let's go to product, NAS and IPsend, go to view all NAS model. From here, you can check the information and the spec of all of our current model. So we will pick one as an example. Let's do DS1618 Plus. Get inside, go to spec, software spec. Scroll down. Then we can see that there's a section which is called Synology Drive Server. So from here, we can see the recommended number of the host file is 1 million. Am I correct?
Very good, Ralph. Awesome. So let's go back to our slide and keep moving on. Now, after going through all these methods, I believe all of you are understanding how to move millions of files. Now I have a question for you, Ralph. How to choose which method to use?
Okay, actually, there are a lot of information, so I'm kind of overwhelming. So can you help me out?
Definitely. Here is the easy way to decide which method we should use by objective. For moving D plus S plus P, using migration assistant is good choice. If target NAS doesn't support it, then hyper-backup. For moving D plus S or D plus P or P only, then hyper-backup is the only way to accomplish. For moving data only, Snapshot Replication would be better if volumes on both sides are BTRFS. Alternatively, please use hyper-backup. For syncing data only, please use drive share sync or share folder sync.
So drive share sync and share folder sync are for synchronized data, and it can only be used when we have less file, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so finally, case sharing. As I mentioned, we have some real case for you. So Eric, what do we have today here?
There are 3 real cases we are going to discuss. This case not made up. Each one has over 5 million files inside, and unfortunately, they all suffered from moving data. Today, we will talk about these cases and let you know how to move millions of files in the proper way. Okay, case 1. The purpose is upgrade NAS from RS2414 RP Plus to RS2418 RP Plus for better performance. Data size is about 14 terabyte. And there are 5 million files inside only shared folders. Refer to your previous question. They used drive share sync at the first time. Guess what? Synchronization didn't go well. The syncing process was unstable. Some files still had not sync after a week. After all, they submitted a ticket to Synology for advice. Ralph, in this case, what would you suggest to this customer?
If I were a user, I would use the migration assistant.
Tell me your reason. Why?
Okay, first, you mentioned earlier, the user want to upgrade a NAS, which means they want to move the entire system, which include the data, system configuration, and the package. And second, the target NAS RS2418 RP Plus is support migration assistant. And the third thing, which is also I personally believe is very important, during the movement, the original NAS can still provide the service.
Brilliant! Migration assistant. That's what I provide to them. Customer end up use migration assistant to move the data, and they complete moving the entire NAS in 1.5 days, including verifying data.
Wow! From more than a week to 1.5 days? That's a really big difference.
It is. So, using the right tool is very important. Next case. Case 2. Customer want to make a data copy to another server. From the screen, you could see 8 shared folders, 20 terabyte data size, and 8 million files. Again, they used drive share sync at the first time. Of course, didn't go well either. Data never complete in 2 months. 2 months, okay?
Okay.
Ralph, what would you suggest in this case?
Okay. In this case, I would say use snapshot replication.
Because
First thing you mentioned earlier, the user wants to copy the data only. And the second, the user's volume is BTRFS file system. And the third thing, which is very important, they shouldn't use a synchronized package because the number of their file is more than 8 million.
Very well. Snapshot replication is a good choice in this case. 2 months? Forget it. They just complete the data copy in 3 days. No kidding. From 2 months to 3 days. Last, case 3. Customer is a MIS in Taiwan University. They have a bunch of archive files in their own NAS with ext4 volume. They only want to upgrade disk to more capacity, so they could save more files. Therefore, they borrow a unit from reseller, put new disk to this unit, and try to move data into it. What a coincidence! They also used drive share sync at the first time. I bet you know the result.
Okay, so one thing first is I see on the slide you put a question mark on the number of the file.
Yes.
So I believe this causes the major issue. And the second thing, what we keep discuss is if you have more than millions of files, you shouldn't use the synchronized package to move the data. So in this case, I think it's pretty easy. Just use the migration assistant and story.
That's too easy, Ralph. I'm gonna give you a hard time. Suppose migration assistant somehow not available in this case. What would you recommend to this customer? Additional information. In this case, HQ members spent 7 months helping customer to move in the data without migration assistant. So I will review these millions of files later.
So right now, I think I need a little help here.
Okay, well, let me provide some clues for you. First, the purpose is making data copy.
So the user can just use the snapshot replication.
But those NAS use ext4 volume.
Oh, my bad, I forgot it. So he can use the hyper backup.
Good. Hyper backup almost finished these jobs. But unfortunately, still one share folder not complete.
So what happened? What's going on?
Another clue, a bunch of archive files. After checking this folder further, we noticed there are 100 million of files and 10 million subfolders inside in this share folder.
100 millions? That's why you put the question mark layer. 100 millions file and 10 millions of subfolder.
Yes.
Oh my god, what are we gonna do if hyper backup cannot complete the job on time? So I think we don't have any package can do it.
Don't forget it. Migration assistant is still the option, but we just forbid here. The data structure is like level 1, 1 share folder. Level 2, 10 subfolders. As hyper backup couldn't finish this job in time. Regarding this, we suggest moving those subfolders one by one by manual.
Move the data manually? How?
In general, the package we mentioned earlier could be used for most scenarios. However, if you really need to move the data manually, here are two ways. 1. By graphic user interface, you could just mount the remote folder via SMB, which is SAMBA protocol, or NFS protocol in file station. Copy those subfolders one by one. 2. By command line. Use commands to copy the data via NFS protocol. Here are some steps for you, and I'm not going to refresh each one again. Okay.
Okay, so I believe this is a very extreme case. 100 millions of file. Okay, so if I encounter similar situation in the future, I will move the data manually by the method you told me.
Yes, correct. So, it seems like time's up. We may have a conclusion here. Before end this webinar, I would like to share the difference between each method. We recommend using Migration Assistant for moving data as long as the target NAS supports Migration Assistant. If not, using Hyper Backup would be better if package also requires for moving. Although the duration is a bit longer, it could move data completely. If the purpose is just making a data copy, you could also use Snapshot Replication if both NAS has BTRFS volumes. Otherwise, Hyper Backup. Remember, synchronization is not suitable for moving millions of files, especially the files are too sparse.
From this sheet, it seems to be me that the synchronized package looks not so much. So why we still put them here?
Hold on, don't get me wrong. Drive share sync and share for the sync are still powerful for syncing files, which under the recommended numbers, but they just used in the wrong way.
Oh, now I get it. So it's very important to use the correct package to move your data based on your situation and the environment.
And here are some references for you if you are interested. You could just refer to this reference for more information.
Okay, so that will be everything today. Eric explained to us why the user want to move the data, what can be moved, and which package can be used for movement. If you want to move the entire system from one NAS to another, please use Migration Assistant. If the target NAS cannot support Migration Assistant, please use Hyper Backup. If you want to move the data only, use Snapshot Replication. Remember, using the right package to move the data is very, very important. Using the incorrect package will only waste your precious time seriously. Lastly, we have the short survey and quiz here. Complete the survey and quiz, you will get an extra bonus information, which is the download link of this slide, and also the test performance sheet of every package, which made by our senior engineer team. On the other hand, if you have any question regarding to today's webinar, please leave your question in the chat screen. Eric and I will answer you shortly.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Let's see what question we got here. Okay, looks like we got a question.
Can we talk?
Okay. Now we got some question from our chat room.
Okay, so the first question is from Remy. Is this compatible with old NAS hardware? Okay, So Remy, we are not quite sure which package you are talking about. So if you are talking about the migration assistant, from the reference slide, you can find the compatible device. If it's the hyper backup, you can also do the same thing.
The question.
Is the question? Yeah. So we got
Another?
yeah.
This one. It is most from PC team. In case 1, it is almost impossible to transfer 14 terabyte data to new NAS in 1.5 days, unless you are using a 10 GB network. Okay.
So the time of the transferring speed actually really depends on a lot of things. Like I mentioned earlier, the number of your file and the subfolder will also affect. Also, the performance of your NAS and the hard drive will also affect. However, the case one, what we share is we want to mention, if you have more than millions of files, you should use the migration assistant instead of use Synology Drive Share Sync.
Can we?
So we got another question, which is, would it
Would
be also
depends
depending on the HDD writing speed? Yes,
Yes,
it is.
yes. And next question. Can we use migration assistant to move just some data and package, not everything?
Unfortunately, it's not. Migration assistant is designed to move the entire system. So if we move, it will move everything.
And
what is the best method to move active backup for Office 365 config and data to new NAS?
Okay, active backup for Office 365 could be backup or could be moved by Snapshot Replication. In the latest ABO beta, in the latest version of active backup for Office 365, it is supposed reading feature. So please use Snapshot Replication to move the data. And next, hi Eric, data migration from NAS to NAS remotely. Should we turn on encryption? But it will be slow, right? Yes, if data movement is through the external network, then it depends on the network interface and the network speed.
So if you have any further question, please feel free to leave it in the chat screen.
And guys, please help us to fill out our survey and quiz.
Okay, right now I would like to, if you still have any question, please feel free to leave it, and I will take this opportunity to show you the survey, what it looks like. So, let's go back. So if you get into the survey page, you can see here is some detail, some information we wanted from you, and once you fill out, you can go down, and if you are a Synology partner, there are some questions for you. For example, if we have a dedicated live chat for Synology partner, would you be interested in joining? Second, if we have a priority ticket service for Synology partner, will you be interested to join as well? And finish your survey, and if you click next, you will see the short quiz. Finish your quiz, as I mentioned earlier, you will get your reward, which is a download link of this slide. So the survey page link will be just on the screen. There's a QR code or an address. You can use either one.
Two minutes left.
Okay, so if everybody is good now, so we will close the webinar in 2 minutes. Alright, that will be everything today. Thank you guys for participating. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will see you guys next time for another webinar. Thank you so much again.
See you.
See you.